Hey guys, back at it again with another video for you guys. And today we're going to be doing a Gunna tutorial, you know, because that's our boy Gunna. The beat I've made and gonna walk through today is inspired by the album Trip Season 2. And yeah, mainly like one thing you need to know about Gunna, BPM ranges from like 110 to 140 on average. For melodies, he usually uses like a lot of keys, a lot of bells, a lot of pads, ambient sounds. And for drums, he keeps it very simple, very spaced hi-hats, simple claps, spaced 808s, but they're going to be knocking. So obviously, before we get into this joint,
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
you know, like, sub, comment, all that jazz down below, and link in the description for my socials, so you know, drop me an Insta follow and all that jazz. Let's get right into this. First of all, we have a bass line, and I used the sine Moog bass and I turned off the glide so you can properly hear the notes instead of having like a weird muddiness between the slides. I honestly had to come up with this pattern randomly. However, once I found it, it sounded really good. So this is what it sounds like. I thought it sounded pretty dope, you know, and I could definitely like hear Gunna, obviously, even though it's just a bass line, I could definitely hear Gunna on it. For effects, I literally just EQ'd out all the highs, and I added a 3D soft clipper because gotta keep it knocking. Next thing we've got is a American Distant Room preset from the plugin Piano V2. What I did was lay out these chords with a nice top line here. As you can see, to make it more human, I've messed with the velocities. And as well as that, I've added some strum. And if you want to do those, to change the velocity, Alt-R and play with it here. And to strum, it's Alt-S, and you can just mess with the settings there. It makes it sound more human. And then one more thing I did to really give this like a nice human feel was these little notes here. And what you do for that, you 1/6 note on magnet. And when you properly zoom in, you'll see how there's just this one little tiny one. You just place one there. Drop the velocity a tiny bit below the next note, and it gives it a very nice sound. And this is what a melody sounds like together. And to make it sound like this, I added some RC20, a bit of wobble to give it a vintage feel. I cut off loads of the lows and a few of the highs out to give it more of a filtered sound. And then I added the reverb. I upped the wet knob quite a bit, took a few of the highs and lows for the reverb, and upped the size. Again, it makes it sound really spacious, nice, and that's something that Gunna would hop on. Next up, you know I've always got to get an analog lab in my tutorials, so we've got analog lab here, and I decided to use a lead called Growing Cricket, and I actually just used accent notes, just to make it sound a bit more fuller. It adds a bit more like character to the beat, and this is what it sounds like. As I've said, they're already just accent notes, but it gives it, again, a bit more like feel to the beat. It gives it a bit more character. For effects, I literally just put an EQ on, filtered out loads of the highs and the lows, added some decay on Valhalla delay, kept the mix around 50%, notes, which you can change from seconds to notes, 1/16th, and feedback, I just ducked it a bit so you can't really hear it, but it sounds good. Then I added some Valhalla vintage verb, took the mix down. Actually, it's quite high usually for what I'd use, and then a decent amount of decay. Last effect was a fruity pre-panamatic. Just makes it go back and forth between your headphones, and again gives a bit more character to the beat. And with that being said, this is what the melody sounds like together. For me, that screams a Gunna melody. Like when I hear that joint, I'm like, damn, Gunna would go on that. So that's the melody, and now let's get into the drums. Right, so when I had to think of this pattern, I really had to think about this deeply. It's definitely not like an overused pattern in every video I've made so far, and definitely not used by every producer. But this is the most complex tap pattern I've ever came up with. And this is what it sounds like. As you can tell, very complex pattern for my claps. So yeah, I hope you learned a lot from that one. And for effects on the clap, I just took off all the frequencies below 200 and a tiny bit of the very top. Next thing, we've got the hats. I've kept it quite spaced and gave it a little bit of bounce by taking out a few of the notes. And as you can see, I added a few rolls and played with the velocities a bit to give it a bit more of a nice like Gunna bounce. And yeah, so this is what it sounds like. So yeah, as you can see, a nice little bit of a bounce it'll allow the artist to, you know, really go over these. For effects, I've literally just added in an EQ and cut off everything below 1000 in hertz. Next up, we've got an open hat, and just to let you guys know, right, I messed with the outage knob a bit to shorten the open hat a bit, and it just keeps it short and snappy, just like you'd hear over these Gunna beats, because this is what it would like sound like. And then if I took the out knob like back to normal, it's just a bit too long, so this is what it sounds like. And that's the open hat button. For effects on the open hat, I literally just took off all frequencies below 500. Next up, we got the 808s. I'm going to be doing that every time I say 808s. As you guys can see, right, I've really cleared up a lot of space between the 808s. I've just added this one extra note here to give it a bit of a bounce a bit more. And I've maxed out the velocities to make sure they're knocking. So this is what the pattern sounds like. And that's the 808 pattern for y'all. For effects, I just took off frequencies above 10k because it had a bit of a static noise and I wanted to get rid of that. And then you add a soft clipper just to make the 808s like knock even more. Like soft clippers are really good. Next up, we've got the kick. As you guys can see, I've used the rack kick here. I've pretty much copy and pasted the 808 pattern and kept it back all into C notes. However, I took off a few of the 808 notes where the kick and 808 would be over the top, so it gives it a bit more of a bounce, and you'll hear that when you hear the drums together. And I've maxed out the velocities on the kick because we gotta keep it knocking, and this is what it sounds like. So yeah, that's the kick pattern. And what I did was I literally just went from here on the EQ down to here just to make it sound more thumpy. Last thing I want you guys to know is I just added a nice little symbol throughout the beat. It just lets people know if it's transitioning. That's why I added it for that purpose. And with that being said, this is what all the drums sound like together. If you tell me you're hearing that joint and it don't sound like a Gunna drum, then I don't know what to tell you, because I can hit Gunna on that and I think that is slapping. You guys have made it to the end of the video. Just want to say again, thank you all for watching. I'll be playing this beat in the outro, but before I head off, make sure you know again, like, subscribe, do all that jazz down below. I really appreciate it. It's been your boy JJ, and take it easy.